Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin, and man, we got a lot of ground to cover today. So I hope you're ready. Let's go out to Comment Land and see who we have on board today. Want to welcome Richard and Kevin. Want to welcome Wayne, the lawn guy. He's saying hello from UP BNSF Diamond in Kansas City. Well, should be a pretty good day, if not too windy to be rail fanning. We got Fred, we've got Austin, we've got Frederick, Andrew, Steve, SoCal Models. I should say SoCal Scale Models. David, Ted, and James, and John, and all kinds of folks joining us here. We'll stick around for a little bit, see who else is here. You can see I've got some eye candy on the table, just like always. We've got some pretty cool stuff to cover today. We're going to take a little history lesson. Like I was saying in the description earlier, today is TOFC Tuesday. We're going to talk about everything about trailers on flat cars today. A little bit of history. You might learn something. I might learn something. It's going to be a lot of fun no matter what. See, we got Logan, Matt, John's Railroad Videos. We have Mr. Jim Straka. We have Sean, Anthony, Leo. Let's see, Lex. So, hey, Leo is calling in from Savannah, Illinois. I know it well. A lot of rail fanning back in the day in Savannah, Illinois. James Yarborough, what's up? A lot of cool train stuff to talk about today, a lot. So, we're going to talk mainly HO today, but you N-scale guys that are out there, hang tight. I got some eye candy for you, so don't worry. But man, we've got some really cool stuff. We got Kirk coming in saying hello. We've got Austin. We've got Crate Mayhem saying Union Pacific is some of my favorites. Where do you get that idea? Where do you see Union Pacific? Richard, Brad, Chad. Man, we've got a pretty good crowd today. So looks like we'll get started. And just like, what we do every Train Tuesday, we go over what we're have for pre-orders until the end of this month. Now, the end of this month, I got my calendar over here. You guys have got till Friday the 26th, just a little bit over 2 weeks. You see anything here that really interests you? Of course, those Dash 9s. I mean, we're all going to get a Dash 9, I think. You've got till 26 to order those from your dealer. And, man, from there, don't miss out. You'll see I kind of got lucky, but we'll talk about that later. So here we are. We're going to start out with the new stuff like we always do. So let me get my screen up here. And let's look at 85-foot flat cars. Now, some of you are probably wondering, 85 foot? You mean 89 foot, right? No, we're going to talk about a slightly older variant. We're going to go back to the 1960s, specifically 1958. And this is kind of the birth of modern day TOFC. So let me bring this up real quick. And guys, I see your questions out there, and I'm really looking forward to answering some of them. But we'll do that at the end of the show when we go rail fanning. By the way, we're going to hit some East Coast action this afternoon. We get to do some virtual rail fanning. So maybe I'm homesick. So we'll see. We'll stick around for that. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see what we're going to talk about. And like I said, we're going to be talking about these 85-foot ready to run. These are in the ready to run line. TOFC flats. All right, now what I'm going to do, like I do always, is I'm going to minimize myself so you guys can see this, okay? Now give me a heads up if you don't hear me. You guys still hear me okay? Give me a sound check. Check, 1, 2. All right. So here's what we're offering this time. We're offering these 85-foot TOFC flats. These are an HO. And these are based on, let me give you a little bit of background on these. basically what we have here, these cars came about in the late 1950s, early 1960s. Before then, there were semis, there were trailers and such, but they weren't really all that big. So they were 34 foot or so. Big for the time, but as the late 1950s moved on, the freight industry was starting to move towards 40-foot trailers. So one of the big heavy haulers of the industry, Trailer Train, now known as TTX, they saw this. Now, they had just come out with a flat car that was 75 feet. Problem is with those 40-foot trailers, well, they were obsolete pretty much overnight. So with the move to 40-foot trailers in the 1950s, making these older cars obsolete, Trailer Train formed a committee to get some specifications together and make a longer flat car that would accommodate these newer 40-foot trailers. Hence, in 1958, the 85-foot cars were developed and available for sale. Now, the funny thing is these cars, a lot of you probably, guys that are doing contemporary stuff, you're probably thinking, yeah, I've heard of the 89-footers, but the 85s, kind of, you don't really see them anymore. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We'll say why those are gone. But let's say you are modeling any of these lines that we have here. You see we've got the Santa Fe, the Denver Rio Grande Western. Of course, we've got the Trailer Train. Notice it's the original Trailer Train, too. We've got the Rock Island, and we got the Pacific Fruit Express. Okay, so these are specifically cars that would have been used in predominantly the 1960s, 1970s. Now, they would last into the early 80s, but pretty much by the mid 80s, they were gone. They were obsolete overnight almost, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, as always, we're offering the TOFC flats. We're in the ready to run line. We're offering them in 3 different road numbers each. And we've got the Santa Fe, where we'll have a picture of one of these cars similar to these cars, but the Santa Fe painted there's that nice white. We're offering that. This is a 1970s paint scheme. Next to it is the Denver and Rio Grande. A little bit later scheme. And then, like I said earlier, here's the Trailer Train. This is the original Trailer Train. Nowadays, we know them a little bit differently. It's just TTX, and they have that mustard yellow color. Back then, their corporate colors were this brown oxide color, and their full name was Trailer Train. We've got Rock Island, who was really one of the early adopters of both TOFC and container operations. Pacific Fruit Express, yes. And last but not least, the Sioux line. Now, all of these, I said, are perfectly acceptable from 1960s. More so, they got popular in the mid-1960s and were really seen throughout their systems, late 60s, early 70s. And again, by early 1980s, they were becoming very, very hard to find. After about 83 to 85, they were pretty much all but gone. They were made obsolete and scrapped or turned into other freight cars. So these are perfect for the person that's modeling, those eras that we're talking about. Those Santa Fe ones were extremely popular. A lot of pictures of the super fleets and even some pictures of Edelstein and Houlihan curve with some of these rounding that curve, 1970s. Pretty neat pictures too. I think we just posted on our Facebook page a really cool picture of the FP45s, and it was not uncommon to see those pulling these types of cars. So, like I said, these are going to be available till the end of this month, or the 26th, and we've given you enough road numbers here too, so that you can build a really good train out of these. So I'm looking at some of the questions that might come up. Yes, actually, I just saw a really good comment by Frederick. The American Freedom Train used the 85-foot flat cars. Yes, you're absolutely right. Thanks for jogging my memory. So for younger folks in the audience that don't know what the Freedom Train was, the other Freedom Train, not the 1947 version, but the 1976 version, of course, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the most beautiful steam locomotive ever made, the Southern Pacific 4449, was painted up in red, white, and blue. And that locomotive, as well as some other locomotives that were used on the East Coast, pulled a complete train. It was basically the history of the United States, because 1976, of course, was the bicentennial. Now, people always remember the locomotive. They always remember the red, white, and blue cars that had display items in them, like the moon buggy, the copy of the Constitution, things of that nature. What they don't remember necessarily is those 85-foot flat cars. And they carried everything from containers that were used kind of as supply buildings, vans, trucks, cars, all kinds of different things. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, Frederick. They did use those. That's a program that the railroads did jointly, starting around 1975 and going onward. And I'm actually just old enough to remember seeing that in my neck of the woods. So it was pretty cool thing. I can't forget the Christian. I can't forget the Reading T1 because that's the locomotive I actually saw. So, what he's talking about is 4449 would not navigate all throughout the country just because of the massive size of this locomotive. And in my neck of the woods up in central New Hampshire, it was definitely not conducive to that locomotive. So they used the Reading T1 for that. So anyways, that's what's coming out on that side. And these are going to be really cool. If you're, like I said, if you're doing the 60s, the 1970s, then you are all set. Kevin wants to know, in fact, Kevin, I'll just put your question up here. Are the coupler pockets a swing type, Jim? Yes, they are. They are a swing type. Pretty much more than anything, 22-inch radius is about where you'd want to go with these. They just look better that way, but they will ideally run on a 22-inch radius. Now, if you're part of a large modular club, check your radii. You might be okay, but club layouts or big home layouts, these are perfect. And they are impressive when you get these all together, one solid train of TOFCs, especially covered with trailers and not bare tables. And very, very cool. And one we haven't offered in a while. I don't remember exactly how long it's been since we've offered these. It's been at least a couple of years, if I can remember right. So if you're into that era, the 1960s to very early 80s, you may want to get some of these and pick them up for you. And let's see. I'm just reading some of the comments because, like I said, that 4449, in my not so humble opinion, although the SP guys will probably agree with me. All right, so we can't have a TOFC Tuesday without what? Trailers. And you knew that was coming. Trailers are also being announced this month, and these are a little bit different. These I'm pretty excited about, mainly because, well, let's just go ahead and take a look at them. These are the 45-foot Z-van trailers. Now, on the surface, these don't look all that different than a lot of trailers. And don't worry, Richard. We haven't forgotten about you. We know you want semi trucks, but we wanted something to go with our previous offerings of TOFCs. But the 45-foot trailer van, you're probably thinking, well, what's the big deal about this? Well, briefly, I mean, we've talked about it on the program before. There were some changes going across the country, specifically changes in regulation throughout the United States in 1981 made 45-foot trailers legal throughout the United States. Remember what we were talking about before? Before that, 40 footers, which goes back to the 60s, was the standard. Those regulations that regarded what size and length and weight of what freight could be done on the road, pretty much designated that those trailers had to be 40 footers. But by 1981, that had changed. And so now 45-foot trailers were legal. And I've got some images too to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this for a second, because everybody wants to see actual prototype images. That's always fun. And I've got some pictures. Thanks again to Tony Cook over there at White River, helping us out with the pictures. We're going to start with this Santa Fe picture. Pretty cool. Look at this trailer carefully. Okay. Now, like I was saying, you know, this was the era where the 40-foot basically was made obsolete overnight. Trucking had really gained a lot of ground because of upgrades in the interstates and things of that nature. Slowly, we were seeing trains being transformed to a point A to point B, but larger trains, whereas trucks were almost taking over the duties of switchers. Instead of having a little switcher with a little 40-foot boxcar, we had semis going right from the ports, right from the yards, to the businesses that ordered this freight. So image number one I've got here, and like I said, these are from Tony. This is Santa Fe trailer. This is in Oklahoma City in July 14th, 1984. And you probably still can't see what's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next picture and see if you can maybe figure out what's going on. One of the coolest trailers ever, and I keep joking with my associates in California. You guys are making me Southern Pacific fans. I mean, check these trailers out. These are just the coolest trailers ever. This was photographed in Fort Worth, to me, not that long ago, 1993. These trailers were extremely popular in the 1980s, and here we have them in 1993. That is obviously on an 89-foot, more of a modern-looking trailer train, just starting to go through that phase of being called TTX. Let's see what else I've got. All right, I can't leave the Rio Grande guys out. Now, this one here, this Rio Grande, this was taken by Harold Zier, and this was in July of 95, believe it or not. Doesn't seem that long ago. And then for all my East Coast guys out there and my Conrail guys out there, check this out. How many Conrail guys remember these, the trail vans? I mean, these things were all over the place at one time. In fact, you can see two in this picture here. So real common at one time. So you're thinking, okay, Jim's talked about 40-foot trailers. He's talked about 45-foot trailers. I'm not seeing the connection here. Well, simply put, what ended up happening is, if you remember, after 81, these 40-foot trailers were almost obsolete. Reason being is, after so many loads, the 40s would just limit at weight what was allowed to be transported on the roads, whereas a 45-footer, you could get those new weights and measurements in without having any problems at the weigh stations. So the 40-footers are like, wow, we've got a bunch of these. They've been making them for well over 30 years. So there was actually an industry that made conversion kits for these to turn them into 45-footers. In fact, some companies, like Availco, actually advertise it on the side of their trailers. So let me go back to our screen of what we're offering, and you're going to see some of that. Look real carefully. Now, there's a couple of things that we've got here. If you look at the Milwaukee Road, you'll see it says preferred 45. I'm going to zoom in on here. If you look real carefully, what do you think this line here was at one time? If you guessed 40 foot, you'd be right. Look at the Conrail version. Come up here. Let's look at the Santa Fe version and the Vailco versions. What stands out? Now, these are part of our Prime for Grime. And what we're trying to do here is we are simulating that conversion kit, because we all know in the real world, nothing stays clean. And in their day, these trailers were, you know, it's like a freight car. If it's sitting empty somewhere, it's not earning its keep. So a lot of these got stretched, just like Ted just said. They got stretched, 45-foot trailers. Now, what we've done with our Prime for Grime Santa Fe, Vailco, and the Conrail ones is you'll notice that the front forward section of the trailers are grimy, old, and dirty, just like the real thing. But when they added on that extra spot right in the back, well, of course, it looks nice and clean because it's new. So that's what we've tried to simulate here. Now, the Southern Pacific and the Milwaukee Road, those are a little bit cleaner. They're going to represent fresh shopped trailers that came out of the shop. So, and yep, Anthony, you're absolutely right. BN also had 45 footers. Believe it or not, the 45 footers were extremely popular until about 1985, when what happened next? 48 footers. 48 footers came about in 1985. And while these were not obsolete, they were slowly going away. They're not as common now as they once were. In fact, you'll see a lot of these being used in secondary service or sitting somewhere. I know here in Illinois, I'll occasionally see an old Illinois Central Gulf version when I go rail fanning. It's kind of sitting there and letting age take its toll on it. So let's go through these real quick. Now, these are all 1980s plus. These are perfectly fine from 1981 to definitely until 85. That's when they were the most popular. Now, of course, Santa Fe, these were very common. This paint scheme, just like on the prototype picture I showed you, very common. The Vailcos, they were very common at one time too. The Southern Pacific, remember I was saying that's probably one of the coolest paint schemes that you could put on a trailer. We're offering that in 3 different road numbers, just like the previous 2. The Milwaukee Road, the preferred 45s. When I first moved to Illinois back in the 90s, you could still see these occasionally. They weren't real common, but they could still be seen. We've got the Denver and Rio Grande, just like that one picture that we showed you from, I believe it was 1995. And then Boston and Maine. A lot of people might not know this, but Boston and Maine had a small fleet of 45-foot trailers. They had intentions of opening a TOFC transfer station in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's just starting to get to the point where they were actually moving some freight there before they were purchased by Guilford Rail in 1983. And then, of course, last but not least, the Conrail. And again, this is a Prime for Grime, so you're going to see the front of the trailer has got a weathered look to it, whereas the back portion that's been added is nice and clean, nice and bright white. So these are exciting. And again, these trailers are so versatile because you can use them on so many different things in your layout. You can use them on your flat cars. You can use them on the, in this case, you would use these on 89-foot flat cars. Then you've also got, your warehouses, your industries, your open roads, things of that nature. So these are really popular. If you're modeling the 1980s, even into the 1990s, these are very popular. Both 40-foot trailers were converted to 45, and then of course the manufacturers, all the manufacturers, made 45 trailers as well. So you're going to see these in any industry from the 1980s on. Now I'll show you the prices here. Now keep in mind, these are suggested retail prices. These are the individual as delivered clean ones are $34.99, and the Prime for Grime version is $39.99. Now again, that is a retail suggested retail price. Your preferred shop may have something slightly different than that. So check with your dealer, talk with them, and go ahead and place your order for these, because if you're a fan of the 80s and the 90s, these trailers are going to definitely work out for you on either your train or your layout or both. So we'll go ahead and remove that. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time to model because you've got both trains and you've got trucks. And you know, if you're somebody like myself that's just interested in mechanical things, you're going to have a pretty good fleet of trucks and trailers on your, you know, on your layout or your module or anything of that nature. So let's see. I'm going to look through the comments here real quick and see what's going on and see if there's any questions that anybody has before we go on to the next thing. All right. Yeah, now Chad, that I see your question there. Remember, what we're showing you, since we're the manufacturer, that is the suggested retail price. Your dealer, talk to your dealer. If you've got a dealer, if you go to a shop, say, hey, you know, I want to order these trailers or these flat cars, and you know, this is the, you know, what's it going to cost me? He's going to tell you. You know, these go slightly cheaper because, again, we're the manufacturer. This is also a good reason if you're doing some prototype modeling and you see what's coming up. You know, you've got about a year before these come out, so you can budget accordingly. For me, it's easier to budget out than it is to just wander into a train store or a train show and see, oh, look, they've got the complete roster of Rock Island SD40-2s. If you know when it's coming, then you can budget for it. And for me anyways, pre-ordering makes it a little bit easier, both in N-Scale and HO. I know how to budget accordingly and work on my industries and stuff. So now, one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys too, since we're talking about TOFCs, this is a great resource right here. This is a book by Kalmbach. And I see the laughing emoji out there, budget. Yeah, you're right, Richard. Yeah, budget. Train budget. This is on piggybacks and containers and flat cars. This is a great book. In fact, let me give you guys a much better look at it than me just waving it in front of the camera, because, you know, nobody can see that. Let me see what I've got. I think I've got a better picture of it. There we go. Go back to our trailer real quick, and then there it is. So yeah, this is a really good book made from our friends at Model Railroader magazine and Kalmbach. And this has got the history of trailer on flat cars, containers, anything of that nature. If you're interested in this kind of thing, if you've got a layout that relies heavily on container or TOFC, or even if you're part of a modular club, same thing. This is a great resource. Highly recommend it. And let's see. I think I've got a quick snapshot of it. So yeah, it's a great resource to have. And, you know, you can kind of see all the different things that are listed here. Trailers are covered in great detail, and containers are as well. And of course, the different histories of the different flat cars, like we talked about, You can pick up your favorite ready-to-run HS scale trailers and get some ideas on detailing and weathering and things of that nature thanks to this book. So, yeah, definitely check that out. That's if your dealer carries books and things of that nature, you might want to go ahead and check that out, or you can also order online through the Kalmbach website. Just do a quick search for Kalmbach online, and yeah, you can definitely learn something, and it's great reading, especially on those long winter days that we're just starting to come out of. So, all right. Before we move on to news and announcements and all that good stuff, I figured I'd look at the comments real quick and see what's going on. Ricky's got a good suggestion too for all you guys that are interested. I'm going to put his up there. Morning Sun makes a really good book. Actually, 2 volumes, 1 and 2. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check those out, because it just makes your modeling that much easier. There's some really great pictures in there for modeling and stuff. Let's see. Any 90s style Freightliner cabs coming soon? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. We do know that there's a lot of you guys out there that are modeling the 1990s. The 1990s have become very popular. So stay tuned. All right. All right, so let's get on with some news. I got some news for you. We've had a busy week here at Athearn. A lot of things are going on, and wanted to keep you guys in the loop. So let me gather some material here for you. And if you've been on Facebook, you've probably heard some stuff. Well, I mean, we're doing some changes here, and one of those changes is we are moving our support, our service and support is moving to Illinois. For years, we've been out of Long Beach, and different things have come up that have made it in our best interest to go ahead and move that part of the operation to Illinois. So starting May 1st, 2021, we will relocate our customer service and repair operations to our primary product distribution location here in Illinois. This consolidation will provide additional support to our Athearn customers and provide a single point of shipment for Athearn products, parts, and service items. Now, that you guys can still reach Athearn customer service at the help@athearntrains.com, or we've got a number listed on our website. And we've also will be updating our website just to make it easier for all of you to reach out to us and things of that nature. Now, when this went out last week, there was a lot of fear and things of that nature. So to put your minds at ease, this is the service part of Athearn. The beauty of modern day working is myself and Janik and everybody on the Athearn team, we actually work remotely. We work from home, and actually our productivity has gotten better. So that's allowed us to make some really great changes. The other thing is by moving the service to Illinois, that gives us a little bit more flexibility. It allows us to help you guys sooner, get repairs done quicker, faster turnaround, things of that nature. Now, that being said, just like anything, this is a transition. So expect a little hiccups, little delays here and there. We are doing our best, though, to get it as smooth as possible. If you've got repairs out there right now, don't worry. They're not going to get forgotten about. We still have, those repairs being done. And they'll be continue to get done as we transfer things from California to Illinois. We're hoping the goal, anyways, is that once we get things into Illinois, we've got a little bit more freedom to get these repairs done and a lot more resources. Basically, just make things simpler for everybody involved. Frederick wants to know where in Illinois. Well, pretty much right in the smack middle of the state in Champaign, Illinois, is where our main warehouse is located. We still have a distribution facility in California. Of course, our developers are largely in California, although we have folks that work for Athearn all over the United States. So don't worry, Athearn's not going anywhere. We're still here for you, and we're going to be better than ever. And hopefully you'll get to see all these great changes in the next few months. So that was one thing I wanted to share with you. So if you haven't been on social media, if you didn't see that on Instagram, if you didn't see that on Facebook, starting May 21st, or I'm sorry, May 1st, we will have everything moved out there, and that'll make things quicker. So some good news too, to help everybody. Yeah, go Illini, says Tom. And oh, you know what, Kevin? I could so use your answer as a a question. I should have thought of that. Yes, that is correct. That is where REO Speedwagon is from. I was more of a Cheap Trick fan, but that's maybe because I lived in Rockford for a while. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, basically, they've got a street out here named REO Speedwagon. So it's a big deal. We're going to have a lot more freedom, though, basically, to help you guys out. But like I'm saying, it's a transition, just like anything. So give us a little bit of time. We are more than committed to helping you guys out, and we want to get you back on track as soon as possible. I'm not sure about that, Ricky. I'm still going to go with Rockford, especially since I met Rick Nielsen at lunch one time. All right, so next, something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. Have any of you entered the contest yet? The Prime for Grime contest. If you were here last week, we had James, who's kind of been helping me out with this. And let me show you something real quick. Just in case you missed it last week, let's go over the Prime for Grime contest real quick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and... So the Prime for Grime contest, okay? This is a contest that's going to run until April 19th. And in fact, you know what I'll do is I'm going to put the information where you can see the complete details at our website right here. So we have selected freight cars that have just basically shipped to the dealers. Some of them have probably been on the dealer shelves for a little bit, but we tried to get box cars that are eligible, that have easily found. Now, what you have to do is purchase one of these box cars that's listed. Go to that website right there, www.athearn.com/Prime for Grime, and see which ready-to-run cars are eligible for this contest. Now, you're probably asking, why are you doing that? Why do I have to buy a freight car to enter this contest? It's really simple, because there might be some older guys like myself out there that have a Athearn freight car in the room next to me that's already been weathered. Nobody else knows that I weathered it in 1993, but I might enter it in the contest. We want to give everybody an equal playing field, and we've already had some great comments from guys that are just getting into the hobby that want to try this out for their first time. We want the seasoned veterans as well as the beginners to have some time and, you know, enter the Prime for Grime contest. So what you do is you purchase this freight car, you take a picture of it, and then you weather it. You grind it up, you rust it up, and make it look like I need to have a tetanus shot for looking at your entry. When you get it all weathered up and ready to go, take a really good picture of it, just like what James did here. He's got this weathered, old, beat-up car spotted at some facility somewhere, ready to take its drop off its shipment or pick up the next load. So try to put it in a realistic setting, and then submit that picture as well as the picture from when you first bought the freight car before you started weathering it, And I'm going to give you the email address just in case you missed it last week. Submit those entries to Athearn Contest at horizonhobby.com. Now you have until April 19th to submit your entries. I'll leave that up there a little bit longer for you guys. You have till April 19th to submit your entries and wow us with your weathering skills. So I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. And you can use acrylics, you can use oils, you can use pastels, you can use whatever you want to weather and grime up your freight car. Try to get it as realistic looking as possible. If you want to try your hand at graffiti, go for it. Basically, just make this thing look like it actually operates in the real world and fool us into thinking that it's an actual freight car spotted like what James did here. So definitely check that out. I know the banner isn't quite up yet. I know the web team was working on that, but definitely check this out. Athearn.com, Prime for Grime. And like I said, that's where the full details are, all the contest rules and such. And you've got till April 19th. So talk to your dealer, see if they've got those cars listed on there, if they're available for purchase. So you've got some time. And then can't have a contest without winning prizes. 2 runners up will be chosen. You'll be given a freight car, and then the grand prize winner will win a Genesis locomotive and a chance to be on the show with myself, and we'll talk to you about how you did your weathering, because obviously if you won the grand prize, we want to talk to you. So we'll try to make a special effort to have you come on board and talk to us about what you did. So if you're a weathering phenomenon, I want to see your work. Go ahead and send it in. All right. So what else do I have for news? I got a full, you can see this paper right here. I've got all kinds of stuff. Let me see what else I've got. Oh yeah, I know what you guys are probably waiting for. How many of you guys have been waiting for SD60Ms? You know, the Triclops. SD60Ms. How many have been waiting for these? These have been so anticipated. And let's be honest, I mean, SD60Ms, these are cool. Especially the Triclops, that weird window. No, not a Jeep 30 in Genesis. No, this is an SD60M. How many have been waiting for these? Your wait is almost over. And I know the UP guys are loving this because we did the red stripe frame. This is due at any time. If you pre-ordered these from your dealer when we announced them last March, should be getting a call from your dealer soon. If you did not place a pre-order, you might want to get on the phone with your dealer now because they are going to be here really, really soon. I want to show you how soon they are. They're on their way. I think I've got confirmed pictures of these coming through Central Illinois. Hold on a second. Yep, there they are. They're on their way. So this one's obviously waiting on a siding because its ditch lights aren't on. But yeah. Ted Andrews says, I saw my first one on the CNW in DeKalb, Illinois in 1992. Yeah. Man, that would have been cool. I don't know if I ever got any pictures of the CNW versions. When I got here, the CNW was slowly getting painted this color here. But yeah, check that out. Now, remember, these are Genesis 2.0. So these have options that the previous release did not. I'm going to put you up here. They look nice, but let's see the MP Caboose, Jim. Not today. Sorry, Tom. Not today. I'm a big BNSF guy. Well, that's good because we've got BNSF SD60Ms too. We've got them in original Cascade Green that have been patched, and we've got them in Heritage too. So don't miss out. They'll probably be here before the weekend's over. So definitely talk to your dealer. Tell them you want one of these. If you pre-ordered one, all you got to do is sit back and wait for that phone call or that email from your dealer. But I wanted to throw that up there and show you guys because that's how close. We've been talking about them for a couple of weeks now. And, I've been excited about them. I know I've got some Cascade Green ones on order. And I know a lot of guys out there have been looking for the BNSF, the UP, Norfolk Southern. That being said, too, don't forget, we're going to have these reviewed by a couple of our reviewers. We've got one that's going to be the Norfolk Southern version. We're going to be doing the CP Rail version, too. These are all going to be covered in reviews coming up. So hopefully by another week or so, I'll be able to share some really cool reviews with you, too. Now, of course, you knew that was coming, right? I mean, yeah. The Boston & Maine GB40-2s that I almost missed out on because I didn't pre-order. We did those in 3 different road numbers, 2 different paint schemes. This paint scheme here represents what I remember. This is 300 as it was delivered in 78. And we also did 310, and I believe it's 314. Now, 314 is in the latter paint scheme. It was the paint scheme that had a lot of people convinced that Boston & Maine was going to be purchased by Conrail. If you look at the 2 paint schemes, they look very similar. But really cool for me. And don't forget, Ben over at BA Rail Systems, if you haven't caught his review, he's actually got a review of this locomotive, but painted in CP Rail, because after Guilford / Boston & Maine got done with them, CP Rail ended up getting them. And really good review, and I highly suggest you take a look at it. So this I had some fun with this past weekend. I finally got my switching layout track all laid, and all the wiring is down. I tested it over and over again, and hopefully in the future we'll start seeing that more, so you can see some of the new items, not just static on a table, but actually on the layout itself. And reading through the comments. So, Shane. Boston & Maine was bankrupt, just like Penn Central, Milwaukee Road, Rock Island, and even Erie, Lackawanna, Reading, CNW, LV. Yes, you are absolutely right. However, now we're going to go down History Road. Alan Dustin, who kind of responsible for these locomotives, actually brought them out of bankruptcy. By 1978, Boston & Maine was doing actually really well. And by 1983, they were doing so well that they got purchased by Guilford Rail, which had already purchased Maine Central. Now, if we're following current news, if you're a rail fan, you probably already know that Pan Am, which is today's version of Guilford, has sold out to CSX and Genesee and Wyoming. So it should be interesting in New England to see the changes that happen there. Now, I promised the N-Scale guys I'd have something for you, and I didn't want to disappoint. So let me show you what's been going on. And this is N-Scale. And this isn't exactly new, but I wanted to tell you guys because if you're like me, you probably missed it, and I kind of regret it. Let me share my screen so you can see what's cool for the N-Scale guys. We talked about SD60Ms, or now we've got SD70s. So this is the Conrail SD70s, and we still got a few of these available. So if you missed out on these, you can still get these. Now these are DC, but they can be they are DCC ready. And I still kind of kick myself for this, but I missed out on the CN versions. We had the CNIC and the IC and some other ones, and they're completely sold out. Now, if you're a fan of the IC or the CNIC, talk to your dealer. There's a possibility they might have them, but as far as what's in our distribution center, we are totally out. But the Conrail ones, you can find them online at Athearn.com. You can also find them online at horizonhobby.com, or better yet, just give a call to your dealer and see if he's got them. But these little SD70s, really, really cool. Check it out. And I wanted to show you that picture of Conrail taking a little bit of a detour out here in the country. So with that being said, and that actually leads me into this week's test question. Now, I'm in Central Illinois, and some of you East Coast guys would be like, Conrail would never be in Illinois. Think about it for a second. Can somebody out there in train world tell me the name of the line that went from Indianapolis all the way up to Peoria, and before Norfolk Southern took over and after Penn Central? Conrail was using it. What was the name of it? We've actually done the road before in N-Scale and HO, but even though it was owned originally by the New York Central, it was kind of a spin-off line. So let me see who knows the name of the railroad that went from Indianapolis to Peoria. Not too far. There, we've got a winner. Excellent. Now I just got to grab them. Ted, the P&E. You're absolutely right. Peoria and Eastern. In fact, just recently, unfortunately, they tore up those tracks not too far from me about 2 years ago. It's kind of sad to see it go, because my distinct memory of the P&E was seeing it GP15 and Conrail paint still on its way to Bloomington. So kind of sad to see it go. But yes, the P&E was that branch line. All right. Well, it's time for some questions and answers and fun stuff like that. Let's go ahead and see where we're going to go. I told you that we were going to do some East Coast rail fanning today. And before we started the show, it was really busy. Let's hope it's still busy. Let's go to Pennsylvania. And what's in Pennsylvania? The famous horseshoe curve. Now, the camera thinks it sees something. But hey, you know what? We'll sit back and we'll relax. Hey, do I see something? The camera sees something. Let's do some questions. Got a little bit of time to do some questions, see what's out there. I want to thank everybody for joining me today and talking to some fellow modelers. It's always good to hear from you guys. Let me see. Ted, I think you're a Conrail guy. Conrail was also very big in Streator, Illinois, and Hennepin, Illinois. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Been here for a long time. I should know that. Let's see. I'm looking at some other questions. If you got questions on anything that we talked about today, the TOFCs, even the stuff that's about to be in stock soon. Kevin, he's like, Athearn t-shirt, Jim. Yeah, I know. I keep telling you guys I'm working on it, but let's see. They should be. Maybe I'll try to get these done for you guys for sale by spring. Which, looking at Pennsylvania, looks like they lost most of their snow. Got a nice container train coming up there into view. Let's see. We've got a couple of questions on N-Scale. Richard, hey, Jim, what is the next announced N-Scale item due to come in? We're actually going to talk about N-Scale stuff not next week, but in a couple of weeks. Last week of the month, we usually cover a lot of the N-Scale. So we'll go over some of that. And I will see by then if we've got some N-Scale stuff coming in. If we do, not only will we talk about it, but I'll have some reviews on it. And check that out. Trailer on flat car. Pretty sure those are probably 53-footers, but let's see. I saw another question. on N scale. Paul, still no big boy news. Okay, so you're probably talking about the N scale big boys. They are due to arrive the end of April. And we'll be talking about those more in upcoming Train Tuesdays. So stay tuned. End of April, you should start seeing those coming into dealers and stuff. And also, if you're a fan of Facebook or Instagram, that's a great way. I try to post stuff that's going to be at dealer shops soon or already there. So that kind of gives you a heads up. So if you're not liked and subscribed, go ahead and do that with both Instagram, Facebook, whatever you prefer. And I usually try to keep updates on there as well. Kevin says it's spring in Indiana. Yeah, as you're talking, Kevin, not too far from you, it sounds like a tornado because the wind is just crazy today. So hopefully, I was really hoping we don't lose the internet today because that would stink. Let me see. There's some other great comments here. Shannon's asking for a Mack Model R truck. Great suggestion. Something that we can probably look into. Don't forget our our product suggestions at our website, athearn.com. That's a good question. We'll ask this. We got a lot of N scale guys in today. Will you be producing the dash ends and N scale? Well, it's one of those things where if we get enough requests, if we think we can bring a dash 9 to market and help out as many N scalers as possible, then we'll look into it. The biggest thing that I can tell you is if you go to our product suggestion email at athearn.com and put that in there. Now remember, we're not going to always respond and talk back and forth with you just because we're just collecting names. We're collecting ideas. The next big thing, we want all you guys to be excited about it. So put that in the suggestion box. Again, N scale isn't what it used to be. N scale has grown quite a bit in the last few years. And so there's always a possibility, but we need to hear from you so that we know we're heading in the right direction. Tim Peters, Missouri Pacific or Frisco products? I'm trying to think of this month. I think we've got some Frisco stuff coming up next week. Get some modernized box cars, if I remember right. And don't forget, last week in the Genesis line, we've got both the Frisco and the former Frisco mechanical reefers. I'm sure you probably want the original Frisco, not the one that has BN markings on it. But regardless, you've got two options there as well. As far as anything new, you'll have to stay tuned. I don't know of anything off the top of my head. I just know that the guys in development have been extremely busy. Let's see. Paul, I see your question. I'll put it up here for you. Any chance you can possibly get that Challenger oil tender and N scale sent out that I've been requesting for a year? Well, maybe we need to see what's going on. Check what email you've been sending. A couple of things to think about. And this is something I ask sometimes on comments on Facebook. You'll hear people say, man, I sent you guys an email for parts, or I sent you an email for this, that, or the other thing, and I never hear from you guys. A couple of things. And this is kind of the reason why we're moving this over to Illinois, to make it easier for you. When you submit an email to our parts or service, you will get an automated email. If you don't get an automated email, then you've probably put your email suggestion in the wrong box. You should get an automated response saying, thank you for your email. And then the following things will happen, depending on what you've done. If you're looking for parts, we're going to ask you for more information on your parts. We're going to want to know if it's a warranty item, if it's something you're trying to purchase. So read carefully the response that you get and follow those instructions, and realize in this time of transition. Plus, remember, California is going through the pandemic really bad. It's really bad out there. So kind of give us some time, but Paul, take a look at your email and check and make sure it went to the right person. Got some Amtrak action going on. Check this out. P42 in the lead. Looks like some heritage cars. The other thing too, Paul, that I'm reading more of your comments. The other thing too to remember with the way COVID is, especially in California, California is probably one of the most restricted areas in the country, and mainly because it is really, really bad out there. I talk to a lot of the guys out in California on a daily basis, and they've told me what it's like. So remember, we're all working remotely. So the person that you're emailing, they're probably emailing you from their home office, and they still have to communicate to somebody to go into the building, look for those parts, verify that part is still available, and then get back to you and get back to the person that originally emailed you. And I know it sounds real convoluted, but it's just the nature of everything right now. So I appreciate your patience, Paul. I see your question there, and hopefully we'll get an answer for you here sooner than later. All right. I got time for a few more questions. Shane, I'm going to put you up there again because I'm kind of with you on this. It's really sad to see the P42 to be replaced by the new Chargers. Yeah, it is. It doesn't, if you're a certain age, the P42 doesn't seem that old. I mean, I remember when the P42s came in new. But looking back at the pictures I took, that was in 1993 when I was rail fanning out on the East Coast. So, yeah, it's pretty much changing of the guard, if you will. I know here on the city of New Orleans, you see the Charger all the time, and when I watch Galesburg, we see the Chargers. So it's kind of rare now to see a P42. We can't go a Train Tuesday without this. I have to put it up there because you went ahead and took your time to type that out. I got to put that up there. Definitely. Richard, he's saying, Jim, are you doing any more Australian locos? Well, of course, we got the Dash 9s that you saw. We did the 90s earlier. Right now, there's a lot of interest in Australian roads, and we've been happily surprised at what we're seeing. So the trends seem to dictate that, there's a lot of interest in Australian roads. So we'll probably keep going in that direction. Just keep an eye on our updates, our monthly announcements, and also on our social media. Let's see. Brandon, I see your question on the containers. Biggest thing is, I'm not quite sure you're saying the dealers are having a hard time pre-ordering them. They're hot. Containers are just hot. And you got to pre-order. And a lot of, depending on the size of your dealer, they might be, they don't know if they're going to sell out or not. So they're just being cautious. But this is, again, one of those reasons why the pre-order is so important, because I've missed out, and I'm sure many of you have missed out on something. And the containers right now, especially the one containers, those are huge. And if you didn't pre-order those, you're going to have a hard time finding them. Literally, they just sell out. I'm reading some of the comments, and they're funny. It's like another request for GM trucks. Yes, we are adults, Kevin. It's funny what the hobby industry has to do to produce things, but we are looking into more options for you. Let's see. I've got time. Looks like we're ready to pull the pin here pretty soon. So let me see. Mike, I see your comment out there about Alaska Railroad. Your friend has been in touch with us, so I'm going to leave it at that. I know they've sent some emails back and forth, so talk to your friend. I think there's some more information in those emails that have been going back and forth. But Mike, I didn't want to think I was ignoring you either. All right. And Brendan, yeah, as far as the containers, yeah, we are making more. They've been extremely popular. They kind of took us by surprise. That tells us that more and more of you are doing modern versus, say, the transition era or older. So, and you'll see occasionally we'll send out these surveys. We sent out a survey on the SD70M-2. We sent out a survey just wanting to know, hey, what do you model? Do you do HO? Do you do N-scale? Are you modular? Are you club modeler? Or, we send all that out, and that's research data. Because if a large population of the modelers that purchase Athearn are interested in modern, when we're not going to do a lot of 36-foot box cars or 40-foot box cars, we're going to do more modern stuff. We try to cater everything that we do in development and everything for you guys. At the end of the day, it's Athearn for you, not Athearn for myself or anybody else that works here. We want to make sure that you guys are getting what you want. You are more than welcome, Mike, and thank you. Appreciate the communicating with us. And like I said, just didn't want you to think you were being ignored. I've seen you on social media, and I know one of our guys has been talking to you and your friends. So let's see. Not rocket surgery. Are you sure, Brendan? Are you sure it's not rocket surgery? Chris, with my eyes, it looks like you could have said rocket sugary, so I don't know. But no, we are doing a lot more research than we have in the past. That way we want to produce what you guys want. Jake here. In fact, I'll just go ahead and put this up here because you took the time to write it. Jim, regarding the survey, which I got, should add a place at the end for a person to leave comments, thoughts outside of the survey. That's a good point, and thank you for writing that. In upcoming surveys, we'll see if we can do that. Biggest problem that we have right now with the pandemic is this is the closest that I get or our associates get from actually holding a conversation with you. So, this is great feedback, and it's something that we can certainly take forward. And maybe in the next survey we can add a spot so we can hear from you guys. Without seeing you guys at the booth at the shows every year, it's kind of hard. But the good news is I'm getting notifications that there are some shows that are opening up. One of my favorite shows, Galesburg Railroad Days, is going to be, so far, knock on wood, is on target to be open again. And you might see me there. I might be just running my own trains, but definitely starting to see some shows opening up. And it'll be good to talk to you guys and hear your feedback and your comments and your questions. It's just easier to talk to you guys in our own environment, if you will. Justin, really happy with the recent run of SP GP9s. Hope to see original and modern Caltrain schemes done in the near future. Well, thanks, Justin. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, the GP9 is one of my favorite locomotives, and it's also one that all of you guys particularly like. So we do a Jeep 7, Jeep 9 release, usually about once a year. And really glad to hear that you liked your SP version. The Caltrain schemes, if you really want to see it, definitely put that in the product suggestion email because we want to know. And there's always a possibility that we can do that. Ricky, I've got to put you up here, and then I'll probably close out this Train Tuesday. Come to Spring Creek Model Trains. Oh, 9th through 11th in April. I know that there's going to be some Fremo N there, and I would love to go. But so far, Athearn is planning on coming out to Spring Creek's show in July. So if you're going to go to the Spring Creek open house / show in July, be sure to stop by and say hi. And hopefully I'll get to see some really cool layouts. That's one of the best parts of the shows is seeing all the layouts. All right. Well, we had a good show. We had a lot of good questions, a lot of great feedback, and we got to see some pretty cool stuff rail fanning today. The nice thing is there's snow on the ground, but we're all nice and warm, at least as long as you paid your bill to get your furnace running. If you're in the colder climates, you guys in California, well, you're always warm. But we had a great show. I'm glad to see everybody show up. Stay tuned, all my N-scale friends out there. Stay tuned. We're always going to have some N-scale on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about it, and yeah, I mean, we'll talk about different things. We'll have some special guests coming up in the next few days. Don't forget to go to our website and check out the Prime for Grime contest. I want to see your work. You've got about a little over 4.5, 5 weeks to get this done. So go ahead and get those in, and let's see what you got. I know there's some great modelers out there. Some of you guys out there have shared pictures with me, and it's just phenomenal. So go ahead and go to the Athearn website and get the Prime for Grime details, get those boxcars purchased, and get to weathering. And do it now, because depending on where you are in the country, the days are getting longer, the days are getting warmer, and some of us get preoccupied with outdoor activities. So you want to do this now while we're in that transition time. That being said, too, all station agents, you must remember to spring ahead Saturday night. We go back to what I like to call normal time, which gives us a little bit more daylight at night versus the morning. But for those that are in those zones, you're going to want to turn those clocks ahead 1 hour, spring ahead. We don't want to have any cornfield meets on our rails. I want to thank you all for coming in today. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll be back next week on Train Tuesday, same time, 3:30 Central. I want to thank you. You all have a great week. Get some modeling done. Be kind to others. Stay safe and be healthy. And above all, high greens, everybody. Take care.